Roman Polanski's Chinatown is a masterpiece and one of the greatest films ever made, and it will continue to be. And other than maybe Vertigo, it's got to be the greatest mystery film in all of the cinema. And it's probably the greatest noir ever made. There's two things that makes every noir great. One of those is a great mystery. The other is John Huston. And Chinatown has both of those. John Huston, we forget how much of a Renaissance man he is, because we only are really accustomed to seeing him behind the camera. But he was always, first and foremost, a great actor. And even though he's only in maybe 3 scenes in the whole film, he creates this character, Noah Cross, who's just one of the most sinister characters, one of the great villains, just a very crooked and twisted man who rapes his own daughter. He's into murder. He's greedy. He's into a whole conspiracy. All he wants is power. And there may not be a better portrait of that. Just a character who wants greed and power and nothing more. From a villain, we've never seen anything like that. But, the film, Jesus Christ, it's a beautiful film. John Alonzo was a cinematographer, and he did Chinatown and Scarface. Those are some of his most famous works. And this is a film that came out in 1974. So this was right in the shadow of everything that Gordon Willis and Storaro were doing at the same time, the two most important cinematographers of the 1970s. 2 of the top 10 cinematographers in history. And we can talk about what they were doing overseas, what Kubrick was doing with Gilbert Taylor. Well, that was coming out of the 70s. Gilbert Taylor then did Star Wars a few years after this film. And there's obviously John Alcott. And there's Bergman's cameraman. But American cinema was the best in the 1970s, and we had the best cameraman. And just the colors and the shadows and everything, whether it's nighttime photography, just these landscapes, these incredible landscapes in Chinatown, and the way the actors' faces are framed in every scene, it's incredible. So it has everything, the atmosphere of a noir, but the key performances, the key elements of the performances. And Jack Nicholson, not enough can be said about this man. His performance is key. And he is the most enigmatic actor that ever lived. There's no one that comes close. We talk about actors that disappear into their roles, the method actors, but no one has ever done this as well as Jack Nicholson. Every time he shows up to play another character, he's someone new and completely different. And we cannot figure him out. He's not a method actor. He's just a fascination. He's the most intriguing performer that I've ever seen. And then there's Faye Dunaway, who was, one of the best actresses ever. She was one of the most important actresses coming out of the 60s when she did Bonnie and Clyde, and she did movies like Chinatown and The Thomas Crown Affair, and later on she did Network, and she's incredible. And when she was young, she's one of the most sexy, she's one of the sexiest women in all of cinema. those are the key performances in the film, and John Huston. You know, it's just one of the most tragic films ever, and it's obviously influenced by Vertigo. The whole idea behind a cop who retires, he becomes a private investigator, he falls in love, and he's unable to save the woman because of the virtues of his past mistakes, his past failures, just irony, you know. There's incredible irony. But what makes Chinatown so special is how well it's written by Robert Towne, who has so many clues hidden in his screenplay that by the time we get the ending, it just hits us, and either you understand it or you don't. Either you understand what the significance of Chinatown is, or you don't understand it. So this is why it's just, you know, it's not about Chinatown. It's about the fact that J.J. Geddes, he wasn't able to save someone in his past. He dealt with corruption and he couldn't take it, so he left the police force and became a private detective. And he talks about, you know, what was he doing in Chinatown? He was doing very little. I can't remember the exact expression. Which could mean, you know, he can't talk about it, or he wasn't doing enough, you know, he was just standing back while, you know, corruption takes over. So that's a great line, that comes back, you know. And then the interplay with his character and the lieutenant, the captain, you can tell that he's a real asshole, and they have history together. So he wasn't able to save someone in Chinatown, and then they end up back in Chinatown, and it's all about how his character, he's had a hard past, and he wasn't able to save the woman he fell in love with. And for whatever reason, you know, Noah Cross is going to get away pretty much with murder, with all of this stuff, and there's nothing he can do about it. So Jake, just forget it, it's Chinatown. Those are the most tragic words maybe ever spoken in a film. And that's that's a very deep way to end the movie. So if you look at all of the clues and you understand what it's really all about, you know, and then there's a great scene, you know, she's my sister, she's my daughter, she's my sister and my daughter, you know. It's one of the best films ever written, obviously. And it's just a perfect experience. Whether you like mystery films or not, this is a film that will make you a fan of Jack Nicholson, of Polanski, one of his great films. There's never been another film like it. Not in its genre, not in any way. It's one of the crowning achievements of American films in the 1970s. One of the crowning achievements of noir and the mystery genre. You need to see it.